defending America from the weapons of mass deception, including those on the internet. Speaking of which, Evan Greer is with us. Evan is the campaign director for Fight for the Future, an internationally touring musician and speaker. She writes regularly for The Guardian, Time, and Newsweek. Fightforthefuture.org is the website. You can tweet her at Evan, EVAN_Greer, and or Fight for the FTR. Evan, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me back on, Tom.
I saw this piece. Actually, I'm on your email list, so I got this email from you about California Net Neutrality Bill SB 822. And when I first saw it, I thought, oh, great news! California is seriously considering instituting net neutrality, and they might do for the internet what they did for cars. You know, when they increased their emission standards, and pretty much every car manufacturer in America said, well, you know, we don't want to abandon the California market, so we're going to just make those our national standards. But now it looks like some of the state legislators in California are hearing the siren song of money and threats from the telecom industry, if I have this right. Give us the story. Where did this start, and where is it at right now?
Sure. So the bill that we're talking about is, as you said, SB 822. And it's worth just backtracking even a little bit, although I'm sure most of your listeners, have been following this are fairly aware. The reason that this bill exists at all is that the FCC, under Chairman Ajit Pai, appointed by Donald Trump, got rid of the national net neutrality protections that we had back on December 14th. Those are protections that prevent internet service providers like Comcast, Verizon, and AT&T from essentially picking and choosing, controlling what we see and do on the internet with throttling, by slowing down or speeding up certain websites, charging extra fees to access certain types of sites, or even potentially censoring or blocking online content outright. Now that we don't have those rules at the federal level, and we're fighting to get them back through Congress, which I'm happy to discuss as well, many states have been attempting to sort of fill the gap, fight back against this repeal of net neutrality with state-level legislation. Now, what makes this California bill different from many of the other state-level initiatives is that it really is the most comprehensive attempt to really restore the full protections embodied in that FCC order that was repealed for residents of California. So this doesn't just kind of use state contracts as a tool. It actually is attempting to require ISPs operating in California to abide by these basic principles of net neutrality. So this bill really could become a gold standard for other states to follow suit or for any potential future discussion for legislation in Congress. But as you said, the ISPs are doing everything in their power to kill it or water it down before it makes it through a key committee hearing that's literally happening right now as we speak. I've got it running in the background. I'm keeping my eye on it. They haven't gotten to discuss the bill yet. But we've really heard that these ISPs, especially AT&T, they've hired up every contract lobbyist in Sacramento. They're treating this California fight as a proxy for the national fight. They're terrified of this bill because it's a good bill. So they want to make sure that they either water it down, get it full of loopholes, or stop it before it even gets to a vote, where internet users have been fighting back. And I think we've got a really good chance of getting through this committee hearing today. But this really shows that we're up against a powerful lobbying, army from AT&T and other ISPs. And it's going to take a lot of effort to push this the rest of the way through.
Is this legislation turning out as partisan with regard to pro versus anti-net neutrality as it was at the national level when, these various attempts where the Republicans basically say, no, we don't need no stinking net neutrality. Let the big ISP corporations screw their customers. We don't care. And the Democrats are saying, hey, wait a minute. We believe in free speech. We believe in a free and open internet. Is that being played out in California, too, or have they been able to corrupt some Democrats as well?
Well, so the Democrats have essentially a supermajority in California. And so, this hasn't even headed to a Senate floor vote yet, where we could potentially see some Republicans supporting the bill, as Republican state legislators did in Washington and Oregon, which passed with overwhelming bipartisan support. Because, as you say, it's true that unfortunately, due to the corrupting influence of the ISPs, net neutrality has become a partisan issue in Washington, D.C. But among voters, overwhelming majority of Republican voters actually support net neutrality. They don't want their cable company deciding what they can see and do on the internet any more than we do. So we will likely see that play out in California if this heads to a Senate floor vote. But what we're dealing with right now are Democrats, California Democrats, that appear to be, being heavily influenced by lobbyists for the ISPs. And it's, really partly due to the really misleading rhetoric that these ISPs use, when pushing against these types of protections. They claim that having to follow these basic rules that have been around since the beginning of the internet is going to prevent them from investing in networks and get more people connected to the internet. But the reality is that's simply not true. There's not a single study that backs their claim that net neutrality protections hurt investment, except for ones that were funded by, guess who, the broadband industry themselves.
Yeah.
So this is a clear situation where they're going in there. They've got lobbyists, hitting these senators every day with these, false debunked studies and misleading talking points. And then we're also, they donate to Democrats and Republicans alike.
Is this in the California Senate or the California Assembly? Number one, and number two, I mean, if this was a federal law, we could easily lobby our members of Congress and our senators by, calling the congressional switchboard. But how does somebody who doesn't live in California lobby a California legislator?
Well, clearly they mostly need to hear from their own constituents on this, and that's what's going to sway them the most. But fortunately, most of us know at least a few people that live in California. So, definitely encourage everyone to, reach out to folks they know in California. Follow Fight for the Future on Twitter or head over to our website. We've got, a simple call-in number that you can use to take action. Then follow hashtag SB822. Because this is moving, basically right now. We'll find out essentially in a matter of minutes or in the next hour or so whether we make it out of this committee. And if we do, then it'll head to the Judiciary Committee as soon as next week. So there's going to be continued need for pressure. If we make it out of this committee today, then the ISPs are going to continue doubling down. They're going to continue doing everything they can to either weaken the bill or stop it outright. And it's going to take an overwhelming amount of phone calls and tweets and emails from particularly residents of California. Although, again, this will have an impact on people across the country, as we've discussed before. So
in our final minute, I wanted to get to the congressional resolution, the Congressional Review Act, excuse me, the CRA. Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that every single Democrat in the Senate is in favor of a Congressional Review Act resolution that will strike down Ajit Pai's, the FCC chairman, former Verizon lawyer, strike down Ajit Pai's destruction of net neutrality. And we need at least one or two Republicans to go along with this. Do I have that right? And are we still at that point?
Yes, that's correct. And we're heading closer and closer to that vote now. My best guess, latest best guess, is I would tell you it's going to be sometime in May, at the latest in early June. And you're absolutely right. We have all 47 Democrats, both independents and Republican Susan Collins from Maine, have all agreed to support this resolution. It's a simple up or down vote on net neutrality. If it passes and a similar resolution passes in the House, it would completely overturn the FCC's repeal and restore the open internet protections that people from across the political spectrum overwhelmingly support. So we need one more Republican vote to make it happen. There's a number of Republican senators that have indicated that they're considering it. They're on the fence. So anyone that lives in a Republican state, encourage them to go to battleforthenet.com, make the call. It's incredibly important. Calls from constituents are huge right now. The other thing we're seeing that's having a huge impact is pressure from local small businesses. We have a letter from small business owners that small businesses